Here's a hot take for you. Steph Curry, most overrated basketball player I've ever seen.
A podcast out of San Diego, California that rewrites the definition of mediocrity.
Yeah, and I don't trust anyone that calls a hot dog a sandwich. Are you crazy?
Are you stupid or something?
And I'll tell you another thing. You know what? I think pineapples do belong on pizza.
I'm as stupid as stupid does.
I think watching pitchers try to hit in baseball is one of the worst things in all of sports.
Oh my God, Paul, you make me so mad sometimes.
And I don't want to hear any of this 6-0 in the finals. LeBron James will retire as the GOAT.
Shut the up! Now, here's your host, Paul Reindl.
What's up? It's time for another podcast. Paul Reindl here. This is the Reindl Report, episode 57. It's a San Diego-based sports podcast, and we're going to be all over the place today. There's a lot to get to here. This podcast being recorded on Thursday, October 5th. And so I hope this podcast finds you well. Maybe you're listening to it Thursday night driving home in traffic. Maybe you're listening to it Friday morning driving to work in traffic. Maybe it's the weekend and you're getting some weekend listening in. Wherever and however this podcast finds you, thanks for tuning in. My name is Paul Reindl. This is the Reindl Report, and as I said, we're going to be all over the place today. This October, this is the first podcast of the Reindl Report in October of this year, and October is the single greatest month in sports. I think it is closely followed by March. You know, in March, you got March Madness, of course, the best time in sports for me. You got the NBA going in full swing. You got Major League Baseball right around the corner with spring training underway. The NFL draft and the combine and everything going. March is a good time, but it is not October. October is where it's at. You got MLB playoffs. Playoff baseball is outstanding. I understand that people are not going to be super into a random middle of July, pitchers duel. But when it gets to the playoffs, baseball is just one of the best things to be able to watch on television. NBA is starting up, preseason. There is so much drama going on in the NBA still, and I'm definitely going to have some thoughts on that a little bit later on in the podcast. You got the NHL starting up. If you're into the hockey, if you're into puck, some puck talk, you mother puckers. Hockey's starting up. NFL is in full swing. It's just NCAA football. There is so much going on. There's no shortage of sports. I absolutely love the month of October. So there's going to be a couple of podcasts that are just chock full of sports here coming out over the next few weeks. But again, this podcast coming out on Thursday, October 5th. And so unfortunately, I got to start on a sour note. And you know what this is and where this is going by this point. I know what happened in Las Vegas over the weekend, Sunday night heading into Monday morning. I know that happened 4 days ago by the time this podcast is being recorded, probably longer by the time that you are consuming this podcast, but I would be remiss if I did not at least bring it up. That was, obviously it was the worst mass shooting in United States history, in modern day United States history, and it was just absolutely terrible and emotional and sad and angering and confusing and 100 other adjectives that I could throw in there to describe the events that we saw when we woke up on Monday morning. I think you probably have an idea of what my day-to-day is like as a morning show sports radio producer. I'm waking up around 3 o'clock. That first alarm goes off about 3:10, and I have to fight every urge in my body not to hit snooze for another couple hours and show up late and get a phone call. Where the hell are you? But Monday morning I wake up and I somehow roll over and grab my phone, and I'm scrolling through and seeing what I missed, what happened overnight, and sure enough, but oddly enough, and this will tie into sports, even though I'm not really starting off with sports here. Adam Schefter was the first tweet that I saw that alerted me of what happened in Las Vegas. Again, this is about 3 o'clock in the morning, Monday morning, late Sunday night, however you want to look at it. And you know how if you don't go on Twitter for a few hours, you refresh and it tells you things you might have missed or top tweets or something like that. It kind of compiles some of the top tweets that you might have missed rather than just straight up starting up in a chronological order. And so the first tweet in the things you might have missed or whatever that section of Twitter is called was Adam Schefter, and it just said something along the lines of worst mass shooting in American history. My thoughts are with Las Vegas or something along those lines. And I thought, the hell is he talking about? What is this? And so sure enough, I look into it and I'm just, instantly at a complete loss of words. It's just numbing as I'm driving to work that morning through no traffic at 3:30 in the morning, and just I'm listening to talk radio, news talk radio. I never do that, but sure enough, I'm tuning into Kogo and I'm just, what happened? Why did this happen? Who was this guy? Was this a terrorist attack? Did a fight break out? What happened? And just to learn that it was just some idiot. I'm at a loss of words even describing it 4 days later, but some sick human being felt the need to perch up in his 32nd floor of the Mandalay Bay and just rain terror down on these thousands of people that are just sitting there enjoying a country music festival. And I gotta say, it did hit home for me. It really hit home for me. I was not there. As far as I know, I don't know anybody that was at that concert. I do have friends that live in Las Vegas. I would assume that most of you have been to Vegas. It's Disneyland for adults. I freaking love Las Vegas. And so this wasn't just a hurricane that happened on the East Coast, and it's sad, but I've never been there. I don't know anybody there. I don't have any personal attachment there. Odds are you've been to Vegas, or you definitely know somebody that's been to Vegas, and you can kind of relate and even see yourself in a situation like that going, oh my God, what would I have done? But it really hit home for me because Vegas is only a 5-hour drive, and that's a country music festival, Harvest 91, I think it's called. It's been going on for a few years now, and I have friends that have gone in the past, and I know every single year, this year included, I have conversations with my friends. Hey, should we go out to Vegas this weekend? Country music festival. I love country music. I love Las Vegas. What could be better than a 3-day music festival in Las Vegas? And so it did hit home for me, and thinking, God, I could have been there. But I will tell you, and I'll be a little vulnerable here. It really hit home for me Monday morning. We go on the air at 6 o'clock on the Mighty 1090, mighty1090.com, Mighty 1090 app if you want to listen. Shameless plug. We go on the air at 6 o'clock, and shortly after 6 a.m., I get a phone or a text message from my mother. And I started to... You're not supposed to cry at work. That's the golden rule, right? You're not supposed to cry at work, but I started getting a little bit emotional because I got a text message from my mom that just said, OMG, oh my God, Paul, please tell me you were not at that concert. And I'm almost getting emotional now telling this story again because she knows up in Seattle that I live a hop, skip, and a jump away from Las Vegas. It's a 5-hour drive. It's a 40-minute plane ride. She knows I'm close to Vegas. She knows I like country music. And I started getting emotional thinking of what was going through her mind as she wakes up around 6 a.m. or whatever time it was exactly, and she sees the news, and her first thought is, oh my God, I wonder if my son was there. Look, if I'm living in New York City and doing my thing, she probably doesn't react that way. It's still that takes nothing away from the events that happened. It's still a horrible thing. But her knowing that I was so close to Las Vegas geographically and that that's something that I would be at, for her to just be like, oh my God, please tell me you were not there. It really got to me. So I'm not actually going to say my thoughts and prayers to Las Vegas. I don't, that's not a saying that I like because this has happened too many times now where I personally don't believe that we should be comfortable and satisfied with just saying thoughts and prayers. T's and P's, because at the end of the day, there's not a whole lot of weight to that, in my opinion. And if you want to give your thoughts and prayers, that's fine. But in my humble opinion, I think we need to do more. I think the time has happened. I'm not going to... Last podcast, I sat down with John Browner and we talked about the NFL protests and we got real on things. That's not what this podcast is going to be. I don't want to do that again. Back-to-back podcasts here. I want to keep it centered around sports. So I'm not going to go on any political rants. I'm definitely not going to say that, I think this is bogus. I think it's insane that we still have the accessibility to assault rifles. I'm definitely not going to say that I think you are so misguided if you're saying you need an assault rifle for self-defense because Second Amendment. I'm not going to do that. I'm definitely not going to do that. I'm 100% not going to say that the Second Amendment probably needs to be changed, because when it was written about a tyrannical government, defense of a tyrannical government, that was like 250 years ago, and we're shooting off, 1 round per minute, not 500 rounds per minute like we are now in 2017. Times change, weapons change. Why can't the rules change? I'm not saying we would have prevented what happened in Las Vegas, and I'm not going to go down this path. I'm definitely not going to share my thoughts on this because I know that's not what anybody cares about, but I'm definitely not going to pose the question of, we couldn't have probably prevented this, but it doesn't mean we can't try to make it more difficult. We can't, I'm not going to talk about how I think it's insane that an assault rifle is legal to buy, or a fully automatic, or if you want to, semi-automatic versus fully automatic. I'm not going to go there, but it appears I already did. So I am going to, however, start with another story. I'm going to transition. That was my thoughts on what happened in Las Vegas. We hear, sometimes things are bigger than sports. It's basically what I am getting at, and that was definitely one of those situations where you can't just say, well, I'm hosting a sports podcast, so time to talk about sports. Sometimes things just hit you, okay? So I want to start. I want to tell a story. I tweeted. I'm gonna read my exact tweet. Late Saturday night, as actually technically Sunday morning, but at 12:10 a.m. on Sunday morning, I tweeted out, "What an unbelievable night! Will literally never use at Uber or let a friend use them ever again. Speechless." And I got some feedback and people asking, what happened? Like, are you like, what are you talking about? Like, I missed something. So this one is for you guys. If you saw that tweet and you're wondering what the hell happened, I want to tell you a story because, well, I figured if the first 10 minutes weren't going to be about sports, what's another couple minutes where I can use whatever platform the Rindle Report is to tell you never use Uber again, ever. So, Saturday night, I'm out in South Park, and I'm going to try to... I understand that not everybody that listens to this podcast is in San Diego or is familiar with the geography of San Diego, so I'll try to simplify it here. But I was in the part of San Diego known as South Park. It was Oktoberfest. I had a great time. I was with a bunch of friends, and we were loving life. And round about 7:30, a friend of mine, her younger brother, who was of age, but her younger brother, he was done. He had too much to drink, and it was time to get him home. We were all fine. Nobody was really drinking of excess. I don't know what happened to him, to be honest. But his time was done. It was time to get him home. So my friend, she calls an Uber. Her brother's phone is dead. That's an important part of this story. Her brother's phone is dead. So my friend, she takes her husband's phone. She uses his phone to dial up an Uber, to order an Uber. She walks her brother outside, puts him in the car, tells the driver, hey, thanks for taking him home. You got the address, blah, 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 blah. She comes back into the bar. We don't think anything of it. We continue drinking and laughing and having a good time. About 9 o'clock rolls around, and we're all in our mid to late 20s, so that means we're tired now at 9 o'clock apparently, because we were all like, all right, time to go home. So I take my friend and her husband, I take the two of them home in my car because they're on the way home. They were going to get an Uber. And I said, you know what? You guys are on the way. Like, you want me to just drive you? So I dropped them off at home. My one friend, he gets out of the car. He goes inside the house. My other friend, she stays in the car. We're finishing a conversation. We're talking. And about 5 minutes later, her husband comes out and he goes, your brother's not in his bed. We go, what? Like, he was hardly conscious. Like, he was falling asleep standing up at the bar. What do you mean he's not in bed? Where did he go? And we're so confused. Like, where could he possibly be? We look all over the house. He's not there. Her brother is not at the house. So we take his phone, the one that we dialed the Uber from, and they live, I'll try to clear this up. So we were in South Park. They live in Terrasana, right above Mission Valley, right there on the ridge near Qualcomm or Stadium or whatever the hell it's called nowadays. So, 10, 15 minutes away. We look at the Uber account, and the driver, apparently it says it says the ride was canceled 2 minutes in. The ride was canceled 2 minutes into the drive. So the brother was picked up, driven a mile, 2 minutes away, and then all we know is the ride was canceled. It didn't say he threw up in the car, because they report that. You have to pay it's like $250 for a cleaning fee. Rightly so. That's disgusting. If I was an Uber driver and that ever happened, I'd be punching people in the nose. It didn't say he threw up. It didn't say where he dropped him off, if he dropped him off. It didn't give us anything. So we go, first reaction is, all right, well, call that damn Uber driver. Like, we got to figure this out. So we try to call the Uber driver. When a ride is canceled, apparently you can't call Uber drivers. They can call you. They can call you, hey, I'm around the corner, I'll be there in a second. They can call you, but you cannot call them. So we're thinking, well, what the hell? We're driving around South Park. We get back in the car. We're driving around South Park. It's 10 o'clock at night. He's been gone for 3 hours, so he could be anywhere at this point. I'm trying not to freak out my two friends, but I go, just so you guys know, there might be a point here in the next few minutes where we need to call the cops. Like, this is concerning. He could be anywhere. He's not in good shape. He's really, really drunk. He could be anywhere. So we tried looking up how to contact Uber. It's Uber, right? It's a huge company. There's got to be some way to get in touch with an actual human being that works for Uber, customer support, customer service, whatever. It took us 10 minutes sitting in my car, Googling, all three of us, trying to find a phone number for Uber. When we finally find a phone number that works, we give them a call. You get directed to a automated machine, a message, and, if this is an absolute emergency and you're in any danger, please hang up and dial 911. If you have lost belonging, purse, whatever, press 2. If it goes through this entire menu, and not once does it say, if you would like to speak to a Uber representative, please stay on hold, or please press 9. None of that. The voice goes through the messages, or through the options, and at the end it just says, goodbye, and it hangs up on you. I'm thinking, what the F is going on right now? I can't believe this is happening. We end up calling the police department, the 911 non-emergency number. We call for the drunk tank. He was not in there. We call the jail. He was not picked up. Nothing happened. And we're thinking, where could he be? Where was he dropped off? Why was the ride canceled? Why can't we call anybody? So many questions. And again, you got to remember, his phone is dead. So we just go back to their house. After several hours, we're like, I guess we got to give up, and I don't know what else to do. Hopefully he's home. Hopefully he comes home. Hopefully he finds a phone charge or something, and we can figure this out. And so I get a text. Again, I sent that tweet past midnight. I get a text probably 1, 2 in the morning, and my friend goes, he just came home in a taxi cab from Santee. Now, if you live in San Diego, you know that those locations are not matching up. If you don't live in San Diego, I will say Santee is about 20 to 25 minutes probably out of the way from where South Park is, from where we were originally at, from where the Uber picked up my friend's brother. 20 minutes away, easily, even at 10 o'clock at night or whatever. And somebody might say, well, somebody did say to me, well, if he was that drunk, like I'm not justifying it, but if he was that drunk, maybe instead of Tier Santa, he accidentally said Santee. And I say, sure, there might be some merit to that. That could have totally happened. But then I would ask, why? Why would the driver cancel that ride 1 minute in, 2 minutes in, whatever it was? If you're going to drive, if you're an Uber driver and you pick somebody up and it says, oh, you're going 5 minutes to Tier Santa, but then they mutter, Santee, or whatever, you're going to charge them for that, right? I mean, that's a 20-minute drive. That's prime time Saturday night. You're going to charge them for that. This guy canceled the ride 2 minutes in, but did not drop him off 2 minutes away from the bar. It's 5 days later. I have not hung out or met with my friends. I don't know what happened. Hopefully by the next podcast, I'll have an update. But I go, that is terrifying to me that somebody that was in that shape, that bad a shape, intoxication-wise, would get dropped off, basically off the record, off the chart, off the map, off the Uber records, was taken 20 minutes away, nowhere near where he should have been. Tier Santa and Santee are not exactly neighbors, and he was just left there. I mean, what an unbelievable story. So, for whatever it's worth, please stay away from Uber. I am Team Lyft now. Team Lyft for life. I actually deleted Uber months ago, back when they got into a whole heap of issues with immigration bans and stuff like that I just morally disagreed with. I haven't had Uber since. But again, this was not my purchase. It was not my delivery or my order. So Team Lyft all the way. But those are my two stories. Now that I've taken up 20 minutes, it's going to be an interesting podcast here. I actually do have some sports to get to. I got a lot of thoughts on the NBA. Just the drama is at an all-time high. I've got some thoughts there. I want to talk about San Diego sign guy for my NFL/Chargers segment, because that's the best thing going on right now in San Diego sports. I could do 20 minutes about the Aztecs and how they're 5-0 and they stayed 19 in the polls and big game against UNLV. But I got to talk about San Diego sign guy, old at JMT619 on Twitter. But first, I need to start with Cam Newton, because at the time that this podcast is being recorded, that is the top story. And before I get into it, I'm just going to play you the question and answer of Cam Newton's press conference on Wednesday of this week. You've probably seen or heard of it by now, but just in case you haven't, here it is.
I know you take a lot of pride in seeing your receivers play well. Devin Funchess has seemed to really embrace the physicality of his routes and getting those extra yards. Does that give you a little bit of an enjoyment to see him kind of truck sticking people out there?
It's funny to hear a female talk about routes. Like, it's funny, but fun is coming along, man. We're gonna. This is a big game for him because of him being from Detroit.
All right, so here's the thing about Cam Newton. Cam Newton's an asshole. Now, a lot of people are just gonna say that was an asshole remark. And that was an asshole moment. Here's why Cam Newton is an asshole. It's been, at the time this is being recorded, it's been 24 hours now, and Cam Newton has not apologized for that moment. I'm not going to sit here and say that I'm perfect. You're not going to sit there and listen to this podcast wherever you're at and say, yeah, I'm perfect. Like, nobody's perfect. Everybody makes mistakes. However, when I make a mistake, at least as often as I can, when I'm going to own my mistakes. I will apologize if I do wrong by somebody. This was a dumb moment. This was an asshole moment for Cam Newton. And he could have even shrugged it off as, it was just a joke. I understand now it was a bad joke, and I'm sorry. I apologize. He didn't do any of that. which leads me to think that he might actually have odd views and in my opinion, misguided views of women in the workplace, or however you want to really define it and narrow it down. Cam Newton's an asshole. Why would you not apologize? I mean, it's inexcusable what he said in the first place, but a lot of people, especially, athletes, entertainers, me, you, your parents, my parents, everybody has said something they regret once or twice in their life. But you have the power, you have the ability to walk it back, try to make up for it, apologize for it. This got national coverage. This was not just on the back end of SportsCenter. This was all over the sports news world. This was on CNN and Fox News and MSNBC. I mean, this was everywhere. The Today Show. I mean, this was huge news. I don't understand why Cam Newton felt that was necessary to begin with. And I really don't understand why Cam Newton would not try to do damage control and make an apology, even if he didn't really feel like it. At least the optics are, he apologized, he tried to walk it back, and for more or less, everything is good now. You only get 140 characters on Twitter. It doesn't take that long to just type out a tweet. I apologize for the comments I made. I mean, no disrespect to Miss Rodriguez and her work or anything like that. People post, you see athletes will post a message on Instagram, whatever. Nothing. As a matter of fact, the reporter, she has actually apologized ahead of Cam Newton. Now I'm going to get to why she apologized. But if I were to have told you, if you had no idea of this story or anything like it, and I had told you that a professional athlete, a quarterback in the NFL, would belittle and embarrass a reporter, a female reporter, and then she would apologize before him, you would think I was crazy. But hey, that's the world we live in, because that's what happened. Now, she apologized for nothing related to Cam Newton and the debacle that happened at Wednesday's press conference in Charlotte. She apologized because once she became a household name and once she became a national headline, somebody somewhere was digging through her tweets and they found I'm not sugarcoating it in her defense, like very disgraceful tweets that she wrote, I think 5 years ago it was. Racial undertones and joking about racism and stuff. No, you can't defend that. I'm not going to defend Cam Newton, and I'm not going to defend her for what she said 5 years ago. But my question, anybody that would say, oh, well, see, Cam Newton gets a pass now because turns out this girl's a piece of shit. First of all, probably not true. I mean, she could be. She could be a total jerk and maybe. But you don't know that. You don't know her. You didn't know her before yesterday. That's a damn certainty unless you're a diehard Panthers fan that knows all of the beat writers and all the people that cover the team. But she handled it like a freaking pro. And my only thing, we got to bring up these tweets now that she sent 5 years ago. And again, they're indefensible. You cannot defend those tweets. But here's the thing. One is not related to the other in any way. And you are ignorant at best if you're going to try to draw the conclusion that they are related and can be connected and tied together. Not the case whatsoever. Because here's the thing. Even though what she said is public and on her Twitter and horrible by all accounts, you wouldn't have even known that if Cam Newton wasn't an asshole to her. And you wouldn't have known about those tweets if Cam Newton didn't embarrass her and belittle her in front of her peers. And I don't want to hear anything about, I didn't think they were that bad of comments. Like, toughen up. I'm just going to go out on a limb there. I don't know everybody that's listening to this podcast, but you have no idea what it must be like for a woman, a female reporter in a profession that is so dominated by men and catered to men, and there's men everywhere. she first of all, she probably knows more than you about football. I'm just going to put that out there. As somebody that covers the sport, is in and out of that locker room and that press conference every single day, she probably knows more than you do. She probably knows more than I do. And to just assume that she doesn't because she's a woman is just absolutely wrong, and it's foolish, and it's ignorant. All right? I'm just going to bet that I'm going to go out and say it. 100% of the people in that room, at least the reporters in that room, the people with a pad and pen, or a phone, I guess, would be the more modern way to record press conferences. The people sitting in that room, nobody, male or female, nobody ran routes in the NFL. Like, they have ran as many routes in the NFL as you and I have. So what makes her any different? It was a bad day. It was a bad look for Cam Newton, who's already got a lot of questionable characteristics, in my humble opinion, dating back to his college days. But that's neither here nor there. I've been critical of Cam Newton before. This is not going to help me alleviate any of that critique on Cam Newton as a football player. But I wanted to get that out there. That's the top story, and I think it is foolish, some of the arguments that I'm seeing now in defense of Cam Newton, and especially since those tweets from last night, or whatever you want to call them, tweets from 5 years ago, started to make themselves seen. So that's what I got on Cam Newton. What are we, like 30 minutes in, and I'm finally going to get to my next segment, and I've been rambling, but I got to start with the NBA, and in particular, I want to start with the piece that I saw this week in USA Today titled LeVar Ball, or no, it's official. Sorry. It's official. LeVar Ball is the worst sports parent ever, not even in America, just ever. LeVar Ball, worst sports parent ever. And I go, is he? Is he? I've got some thoughts. All right. It's official. LeVar Ball is the worst sports parent ever by Nancy Armour from the USA Today. My question to you, the listener of episode 57 of the Rindle Report, is he though? Is LeVar Ball the worst sports parent ever? I'm going to defend LeVar Ball here. Just going to make that known and make that clear from the get-go, okay? I'm going to defend LeVar Ball here. What exactly has he done that makes him the worst parent ever, or the worst sports parent ever, I guess? I don't want to necessarily put words in Nancy Armour's mouth, even though she's putting words in Lonzo and LaMelo and LaGello and LaBlello and whatever the kids are all named. She seems to be kind of putting words in their mouth, but I'm going to digress, not going to go down that road. So LeVar Ball, he made it known this week. He made the announcement. The most famous dad in sports. That's for damn sure. He's the most famous dad in sports. Move over, Archie Manning, because LeVar Ball is in town. He made the announcement that he is going to be pulling LaMelo, who is going into his junior year, I believe, of high school. Already committed to UCLA. He's like the number 7 recruit in the nation for his age group. Number 7, I believe, is where he's at. He was the one that scored like 90 or 100 points last year. You probably saw that somewhere as you were consuming your sports news at some point last season. But he's pulling him out. He does not like the new coach that was hired at Chino Hills High School in Los Angeles. So he has pulled LaMelo. He's gonna train him at home. He's gonna homeschool him. He's gonna coach him. And he says there will be no effect on UCLA. Like, he's just going to continue to do what he's been doing, basically, but just with the exception of now homeschooling LaMelo instead of letting him go to high school for his final 2 years and then off to college from there. Here's the thing. She writes that he is robbing LaMelo of his high school experience, and to some point, I agree with that. I mean, I do think, I didn't have a great time at homecoming or a great time at prom, but I'm still glad I went. And he is not going to have that opportunity now. I think it's foolish to say he's not going to have friends anymore. Like, first of all, he's probably the most popular kid amongst all his friends because of how certain it is that he's going to be a full ride scholarship to UCLA and play in the NBA and all that stuff. he's probably got plenty of friends. I don't think there's any worry there. But I can at least wrap my head around the fact that, yeah, he's going to be missing out on prom and certain social activities that happen when you're in high school. And it can only happen when you're in high school. I get that. But does every parent that decides to homeschool their kid, do they get a column in the USA Today? I mean, what's wrong with that? You can't just pick one and criticize them and not criticize the other. I mean, just because their kid's not going to go to the NBA, or just because they don't say outlandish things like, hey, I could beat Michael Jordan one-on-one, you got to criticize everybody, right? If you clearly you have a problem with being homeschooling your kids, so why not write one for everybody, or write one general long piece? If you homeschool your kids, you're the worst parent in America, worst parent ever. Look, I'm not going to defend everything LeVar Ball does.
Stay in your lane.
I'm trying to help you out, LeVar. I'm not going to defend everything the guy does. He has said some ridiculous things. He talks like he was first-team All-American in college when, in fact, he averaged like half a point per game. He says he could beat Michael Jordan with one hand. No, he couldn't. It's not going to happen. But kind of what I was getting at with like the Cam Newton thing, like everybody said something stupid. Everybody said something they regret. And he might not regret that. He might really believe that for all we know. But again, that no harm, no foul. Like that's not causing me I'm not losing any sleep over those comments. Okay, it's whatever. I've heard people say things that are so outlandish they just make me laugh because I'm like, there's no way you actually think that. Now he has said some things in the past that I don't agree with, not even a little bit. I mean, the way that he treated Christine Leahy, where I think that soundbite even came from.
Stay in your lane.
Yes, thank you, LeVar. Stay in your lane. That originated from him really not acting like a nice guy towards Christine Leahy on Fox Sports 1. And so I'm not going to defend everything the guys did, but all I would ask is what exactly has LeVar Ball done that is inherently bad? What has he done that makes him the worst sports parent ever? Because he wants his kids to succeed and he wants to go to whatever lengths it takes. And if that means making an ass out of himself and going on WWE and ripping his shirt off and going on ESPN every other day and saying he could take down Michael Jordan. I mean, I understand that there's a risk in doing all of that stuff for his kids. You know, Lonzo Ball going into the NBA this year, there might be times where guys are in the locker room and they're going to think twice about, is daddy going to come to your rescue? And, hey, if we all go out for drinks after the game, does dad have to come with us? Like, I would imagine those are all going to be jokes because, quite frankly, I imagine Lonzo's going to be pretty good and not going to be a whole lot of drama with him and teammates, but that's neither here nor there. What has LeVar Ball done that was bad? I mean, did I miss any reports where he beats his kids? Did I miss any reports where his kids are little criminals and they're getting run-ins with the law? I mean, by all accounts, it seems like LeVar Ball has raised 3 pretty good kids, and he's done this all since he's been in the spotlight. I should say he's done this all. Again, I'm not going to put words into his mouth, but for the most part, it appears he's been doing this a lot on his own because his wife, Lonzo and LaMelo and LaGello and Ladello, their mother, she's been very sick over the last year or so. And so he's kind of been running the show and building this huge brand, apparently. I don't know if, I'm not going to say they're a multi-million-dollar brand just yet, although with all the drama scandal that's going on in the NCAA, maybe Big Baller Brand will be the only shoes you are allowed to wear in college basketball. But he's built this brand. He has built notoriety, not just for himself, but for his kids. His son was, a top pick, a lottery pick in the draft. His other son is going to be a full ride, full scholarship player for UCLA. Okay, UCLA basketball, not Chino Hills Technical College, UCLA. And quite frankly, at the end of the day, everything that LeVar Ball has predicted, it's come true. So you might just want to pay a little closer attention to some of the statements that he makes. But what has he done that was bad? And I see the comparisons in the story to Todd and Marv Marinovich. And if you don't know that story, Todd Marinovich was supposed to be the second coming of Jesus when it came to football. You know, he was supposed to be God's gift to earth. And his dad, Marv, pushed him and had him on diets and never let him have a social life. And it drove Todd into the ground. And he went down this whole path of destruction, and things did not go according to plan for them. But I think that's a bold comparison because Todd Marinovich has come out and talked about it, and you can at least start to draw conclusions and point some dots to it, you know, connect some dots between what you thought his dad might be doing and what his dad actually was doing. I think that's kind of a bold comparison without having any complaints from Lonzo and LaMelo. I mean, did LaMelo... Again, if I'm wrong, please point me in the direction so I can correct myself. I'll have some humble pie later on if I need to. But did I miss the 60 Minutes interview where LaMelo went on and did an interview and said, I really wish my dad would have kept me in school. I really liked my school. I don't want to be homeschooled. This is against my wishes. I mean, if that happened, then I'll backtrack everything. But as far as I know, that did not happen. Has Lonzo come out and said, man, my dad, you know, he pushes me way too hard, and sometimes I don't even want to play basketball anymore. Haven't heard that either. The only thing I've heard from Lonzo Ball was that hilarious Father's Day commercial by, oh God, I cannot remember the brand that put it together, but it was so funny, and I'm not gonna remember all of it to accurately describe it, but go on YouTube and type in Lonzo Ball Father's Day commercial, you'll find it, and he's just talking about comparing how other dads or other kids be like, thanks dad for, you know, taking me on that fishing trip. Thanks dad for buying me this. And Lonzo goes, thanks dad for the 3 a.m. wake up calls to go shooting around and stuff like that. It was complete humor. It was all, in my opinion, part of LeVar Ball's plan, right? He makes an ass out of himself so much that then Lonzo, who's quiet and calm and collected pretty much all the time, it seems, he goes out there and makes fun of his dad, and now Lonzo's the good guy. Now everyone goes, wow, Lonzo's hilarious. That was funny. Look at him making fun of his crazy dad. All right. I'm just saying, I think LeVar Ball is smarter than you. He's smarter than me. LeVar Ball is going to be president someday because apparently anybody can do it and anything goes nowadays. So in 10 years, LeVar Ball, President Ball, emperor of big baller brand. You never know. But that would be my only question to Nancy Armour of USA Today. What has he done that is so inherently bad that makes him the worst sports parent ever? So those are my thoughts on LeVar Ball. I'm going to keep it centered around basketball here. The NBA drama has just been at an all-time high. It really has. And I've said that countless times on this podcast throughout the last few months. The offseason drama has been palpable. It has been so delicious for me to just sit here and consume it. I don't want it. I don't want more NBA drama. I need it. It's like air for me. I need it. So in the last couple of weeks since I've talked NBA storylines, Russell Westbrook signs this insane contract extension with Oklahoma City. He's making like $41 million a year. And I'm not even going to get into whether or not I think it was a smart deal for OKC or if it was worth it or anything like that. I'm going to talk about how he signed that extension on Kevin Durant's birthday. Are you kidding me? There's been all this documented drama between him and Kevin Durant, and were they riffing back in Oklahoma City? And Kevin, I'm sure you're listening, and you're gonna tweet me some angry response from an anonymous Twitter account. But just say, apologize. I apologize. No rough feelings here, okay? He signed that contract extension on Kevin Durant's birthday. Now, was that just a coincidence? Maybe. Maybe it was. But given the way everything else is going in the NBA, I'm thinking that might have been planned. I don't remember what day of the week it was. It wasn't like he did it on a Sunday. But I gotta think that there might have been a little bit of planning behind that. Let's go over to Cleveland. Dwayne Wade gets the buyout of his Chicago contract, signs with LeBron James and the Cavs for 1 year. I do think that's significant that he only signed a 1-year contract because LeBron only has 1 year on his contract, and LeBron's only going to be in Cleveland for 1 year on his contract. But signs a 1-year contract, and today, again, this podcast being recorded on Thursday, October 5th, it comes out that Dwayne Wade has taken Kyrie Irving's old locker. Now, again, was that a coincidence? Kyrie Irving leaves. A lot of other people left, but Kyrie Irving left, so there's a empty locker, and, makes sense, right? Or was that planned? Given all the drama, again, same exact story like Westbrook and Durant, given all the drama that has circled around LeBron James and Kyrie Irving this offseason, how can you not possibly believe, or how could you possibly believe that it was anything other than a coincidence? There's no way. That had to have been planned. That absolutely had to have been planned. I mean, Kyrie Irving was traded for Isaiah Thomas, point guard. He's a short guy. He's going to be working one-on-one with LeBron. Why wouldn't Isaiah Thomas have moved into that locker? Why not? And maybe he did, and Dwayne Wade pushed him to his side. That could very well be true, but it was not reported that, Isaiah Thomas taking over Kyrie's locker. But it was reported today by the media that Dwayne Wade actually is moving into Kyrie Irving's locker. LeBron's best friend is moving into Kyrie Irving's old locker. Yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and say that was planned. I'm gonna buy into that conspiracy theory absolutely. NBA All-Star changes have been made. The NBA said that they're gonna be eliminating the Eastern Western conferences from the All-Star Game selection process. They're gonna have the 2 highest vote getters are gonna be the captains, and they're gonna have a draft. So they're kind of stealing from like the NFL, how they have like Deion Sanders and Jerry Rice, Team Deion versus Team Jerry or whatever, and they would have 2 legends then draft a team based on the pool of vote-getting Pro Bowlers. But NBA is doing that similarly, but they're going to have the 2 highest vote-getters. Say it's LeBron James and Steph Curry, they will be the captains of Team A and Team B, not East and West anymore. It'll just be, they'll take 25 guys or whatever it ends up being, and the top 2 vote-getters will be the captains, and they will play rock, paper, scissors, or however they determine. I would imagine the player with the most votes will get the top pick, but I just wanted to present a drama-laden possibility to you as the listener of this Rindle Report. Knowing the All-Star Game has been changed, and it will be a draft, how about I start beforehand? Before the changes were made, you knew that Russell Westbrook was going to be an All-Star, and you knew Kevin Durant was going to be an All-Star, and they were going to be on the same team, and it happened last year. They're both in the Western Conference. It happened last year. Nothing crazy happened. But now things have changed, and let's just say I want to throw out a hypothetical. Kevin Durant, top 2 vote getter, right, in the All-Star game? Let's say Kevin Durant gets the pick, and it doesn't have to be the number 1 overall pick necessarily, but let's just say Kevin Durant is on the clock, and Steph Curry's already been picked, or Steph Curry's gone, but Russell Westbrook is on the board. Does Kevin Durant draft Russell Westbrook? I need this to happen. I need this to play out. Again, it's not like air. I don't want it. I need it. I need this to happen. I really hope it does. While we're talking about the Cavs, I'll move quickly here. Looking at the Cavs roster over the offseason, now that it's preseason's underway and we're really rolling towards the regular season, I got to say, the Cavs roster on paper looks pretty damn good. It looks pretty damn solid. And I think they got a free pass to the NBA Finals once again. Kyrie Irving be damned. I don't think Boston will contend. I mean, they'll contend. I apologize. They will contend. I don't think they will knock off Cleveland. You're going to have Isaiah Thomas running point. You're going to have Dwayne Wade at shooting guard because Dwayne Wade, he is getting old. His defense will have been lacking a little bit. He's not going to have to do all the dirty work. He's not going to have to be the go, go, go guy. That's going to be Isaiah Thomas. He's going to be the one diving for balls. He's going to be the one sprinting the length of the court. He's going to be the one tiring himself out. You put LeBron at 3, and then you have Kevin Love and Tristan Thompson. That's your starting 5. Coming off the bench, you got Jay Crowder. Derrick Rose will have to use his walker or his his wheelchair to get onto the court, but he's be coming off the bench. Still, I will give Derrick Rose some credit. He's coming off a pretty solid year last year in New York. J.R. Smith coming off the bench. Kyle Korver, your sharpshooter. That's a pretty deep and talented roster, and I think they still have Richard Jefferson, who's got to be pushing at least 50 years old now at the time that this podcast is being recorded. They've got some depth, and I am not going to say that they're the favorites to win the NBA Finals. I am 100% going to say they're the favorites to win the Eastern Conference. I still look at that team, and I don't see anybody that matches up with Kevin Durant, which was the Achilles heel for Cleveland in the NBA Finals. I would say we're on a crash course, a collision course for round 4. Now it'll be round 4 between the Warriors and the Cavs come middle of June in the NBA Finals. I see no other way that this plays out. I think Oklahoma City will be interesting as they've added Paul George and Carmelo Anthony to go along with Russell Westbrook. I'll be curious to see how that works out. I don't think that team knocks off Golden State in the West. I don't think San Antonio knocks off Golden State in the West. I don't think Chris Paul moving to Houston makes all the difference in the world, that they're suddenly going to be the number 1 seed in the West. It's going to be Golden State, and it's going to be Cleveland, and it's going to be LeBron versus Durant and Curry once again for the 4th straight year. I have no complaints about that. Let me just make that known right off the bat. I have no complaints about that whatsoever, but if you got to make your predictions now, I would say getting Paul George for Cleveland would have been the only way that they could really make a statement as far as, hey, we deserve to be considered to win the title, because he would be somebody that they could at least throw on Kevin Durant and try to take KD out of the game. LeBron wasn't able to do it. Kevin Durant is that good, and I don't think they brought in anybody that's going to be able to handle Kevin Durant, so I'm still going to have to stick with Golden State as the favorites, just like the general managers did as they did their annual preseason GM survey earlier this week. But anyway, those are my thoughts on the NBA. I could keep going because I just think there's so much in the NBA to talk about. We are barely into preseason, but I know I'm running long, so I'm going to start to wrap this up. I do have some thoughts on the NFL. Really, it's going to be San Diego Chargers centric, but not Chargers related in the sense that we're going to be breaking down their 4 losses or anything like that. I want to talk about San Diego sign guy. I want to walk back on some things that I have said in the past, and I'm just going to laugh because the Chargers are 0-4. This is incredible. So I've got some thoughts here as we start to wrap up episode 57 of the Rinder Report.
Don't believe me, just watch.
So back in January, you will remember Dean Spanos and the Chargers, they moved to Los Angeles and they had a welcome party at the Forum in LA. Now, by welcome party, this was no parade. This was no happy, celebrated, joyous occasion like it was for the Rams or like it would have been for the Raiders. This was a closed-off, welcome party, really just more of a media event than anything else. Some fans were invited. I'm not going to flat out go out and say with any certainty that the Chargers paid people to be there, but there were people that were wearing jerseys that still had tags on them. So if you want to buy into the conspiracy that they paid people to be there, I'm certainly not going to shy away from that. I'm not going to tell you to shy away from it either. But either way, Dean Spanos is at the podium and he's giving his speech, and not very long into it, you just hear, "You screwed over San Diego, Dean! You're a sellout, Dean!" and a lot of other heckling. And it was from a guy named Joseph McCray, who went on to be known as the heckler, the Dean Spanos heckler, or the San Diego heckler, and now he is known as the San Diego sign guy. And my guess is you've heard of him because this story has absolutely blown up. Now, to go very quickly, what happened was at the beginning of the season, really several months ago, back in May, a GoFundMe was started by Joseph McCray, and he wanted to raise, I think it was $10,000 to put up some billboards around the StubHub Center the week of the Chargers' first game, calling Dean Spanos a sellout and Roger Goodell a loser and all that stuff. And I support that because I support all of those accusations. But it has just spun into something so great at this point. Now, when I first heard about the GoFundMe, I will be honest, and I've met Joseph, I've talked to Joseph before. He sends me updates every week. He'll text me the videos and the pictures of the signs. He seems like a great person, and I have nothing against him whatsoever. But I thought that this was pretty petty. I thought, if anybody sees this outside of San Diego, which who knows if they would, because it's San Diego, number one sports city in America. I was like, if anybody sees that, they're just going to view San Diego as like the bitter ex-girlfriend that can't move on and just get over it already. And I just go, look, if we're going to raise $10,000, I mean, I'm not going to sit here and try to tell anybody how to spend their money, but is there not anything more worthy of us giving $10,000 to? I mean, is there not any charity? Is there not something local that we can do? I mean, is Roger Goodell and Dean Spanos going to be driving down the 405 to the StubHub Center and they're going to see that billboard and go, oh my God, they're right. We are losers. We messed up. Let's move back to San Diego. No, they're going to blow their nose with a $100 bill and throw it out the window. I didn't see the point in it, but I was wrong. And Joe, if you're listening, hey, I apologize. Again, had no reflection of you as a person. You seem like an all-star guy. I will gladly buy you a beer if you're listening to this, and we'll hug it out. But this has spun into something that is just through the roof. At first, I thought Dean Spanos isn't even going to see the damn billboards. But the extra money, I guess, there was money left over from the billboards. That money was used in week 2 as they are hosting, I think it was the Dolphins in week 2. Chargers hosting the Dolphins in LA. A plane was purchased with a banner that would be flying behind it saying, I can't remember, free the Chargers, bring them back to San Diego, I think it said. Hashtag Spanos sucks. Got to remember the hashtag. I will always remember the hashtag. I may not get the message exactly right, but I'll remember the damn hashtag because it's so good. And so the sign starts flying around, and it turns out it starts to catch some people's attention, not just in San Diego, but certainly in Los Angeles and elsewhere in the sports community. And then Joseph, the San Diego sign guy, bought another plane for the following week. And now we're heading into week 5. And that son of a bitch has somehow figured it out, a way to have a plane flying over MetLife Stadium on Sunday. Prior to kickoff, during pregame, there will be a plane flying around with a sign that reads, Eli Manning was right, Dean Spanos is a loser. I mean, that is amazing if you aren't a Chargers fan and don't know the connection there between Eli Manning and the Chargers. 2004 draft, look it up. But I think it was 2004. This is incredible. And the part that has really put a smile on my face over the last couple weeks is that last week, prior to the Eagles and Chargers game, in which the Chargers were probably outnumbered 80% to 20% Eagles fans to Chargers fans at Lincoln Memorial Stadium or whatever their stadium's called, the West, the Link West, as Philly was calling it. The Chargers are playing 16 road games this year. Okay, they have 8 real road games and then 8 pretty much road games on their calendar this season. And so Dean Spanos goes to the FAA and says, hey, they're going to try to fly this plane over the game during the game. You can't do that, right? And the FAA goes, well, technically that's true. You're not allowed to. There are safety issues and rules in place, but unfortunately, Dino, that's only good for stadiums that have 30,000 or more seats. And as we all know, The StubHub Center is a soccer field, and it doesn't have 30,000 seats. So this image that Dean Spanos has been projecting and promoting and just bleeding for, close, intimate, family setting, really came back to bite him in the ass yet again, because the FAA said that no, we can't put a temporary flight restriction or anything I think it's temporary flight restriction over the StubHub Center during the game. We can't do that. It's not the rule. It ends up Dean Spanos somehow gets his way. The billionaire gets his way. You can draw your own conclusions if some money was paid or if a friend works for the FAA. I don't know the answer to that, but the plane was then required later, after the fact, it was required to fly only during pregame. It still flew. It still made national headlines, and it was still a big deal. But what got me was that Dean Spanos definitely saw that. I can't say whether or not he saw the billboards. I can't say whether or not he even cared if he did see the billboards. But the fact that he went to the FAA shows that we are getting to him. And by we, I mean Joseph, but he will tell you first and foremost that he's doing this on behalf of San Diego. So this is a team effort here, okay? We are getting to Dean. Dean is getting sensitive. Dean is getting butthurt because there's all these rumors, and conversations. Were they happening? Are they not happening? About the NFL moving the Chargers back, forcing them back to San Diego. I still don't think that's going to happen, but there's all this conversation, and then you look up and there's a banner flying over that's calling Spanos a loser. And he goes to the FAA and tries to get it removed because he's that sensitive about it. A billionaire is going after a guy that started a GoFundMe page to try to get under his, try to steam his clams. And it is working. And so I just think that is incredible. It makes me happy. Joseph has been on different radio stations all over the country. He was on Outside the Lines this morning with Bob Lee doing an interview talking about the signs. San Diego sign guy, Outside the Lines. It's incredible. It is so good. And my last thought here before I wrap things up will be, I have just enjoyed this hate watching so much. I really have. I didn't know how I was going to watch the NFL this year, and I'll tell you right now, I've kind of narrowed it down. I'm not going to I don't know if it's really hate watching what I'm doing. The Chargers are on. It's part of my job to at least know what is going on with the San Diego Chargers. I'm not going to be taking notes like I have in years past. I don't even have the volume on when I got 2 TVs in my living room. I don't even have the volume on the Chargers game because I just don't care. But seeing the way that they lose and seeing how literally every step of the way throughout this relocation process, they have failed. Whether it was on the field, whether it's off the field, whether it's a PR mistake, they have stumbled every single possible way. This could not have gone better for San Diego once we knew that the team was gone. And it could not have gone worse for the Chargers so far through 4 weeks. They're 0-4. They're playing the toilet bowl against the 0-4 Giants. They're about to be 0-5. This is a 2-14 team. So I'm not going to even say it's hate watching, but if it is, whatever, because it's making me it's bringing me so much joy and laughter at seeing how bad they are failing. We all in San Diego would have told you months and months and months ago, there's no appetite for the Chargers in Los Angeles. It will not go well. And even then, in our wildest predictions, we would not have thought that it has gone this badly, but it has. And I'm not even I'm not making any spin on anything. I'm not making stuff up. I'm just telling you what's being said. I'm just telling you the facts. They are 0-4. They fired their equipment manager after 40 years after he sold his home in San Diego and moved his family up to Los Angeles. They tweeted out that their first round draft pick, who has not stepped on the field yet, they tweeted happy birthday in August when really his birthday is in October. I think it's tomorrow. And I'm not making this up. This is it's happening and I'm just talking about it. So it has been incredibly interesting to just kind of follow along and see how bad this really is going to get for the Chargers. I mean, I see people compare them to the Clippers of the NBA and how it took them like 40 years to be relevant in Los Angeles. I don't know, man. It's going to be a long time before they win the fight for LA, which they are reportedly abandoning, by the way. Have not really seen anything yet. It has the slogan, hashtag fight for LA. It has been taken down off their website. It's still up on their Twitter bio. Look into that however you will. I'm just telling you what it is and what I've heard. So I've been told, expect to see less and less of fight for LA because they know damn well that while they're 0-4, about to be 0-5, possibly go 2-14, the Rams are in first place in the NFC West, and they're 3-1, and they're looking pretty damn good. So that fight was over before it began, but the knockout punches have definitely been delivered. All right, we've eclipsed an hour. It's time to get out of here. I appreciate you guys for tuning in. Hope you enjoyed what you heard. Want to make the same shameless plugs that I make on every podcast towards the end here. You can follow me on Twitter at PaulReindlSD. You can go to thereindelreport.com and you can get this podcast along with every other podcast that I have done. It'll all be right there for you. And you can go on iTunes. You can, if you got an iPhone, just hit the podcast app. It's the purple app with the microphone on it. Go ahead and hit that. Type in the Reinder Report. Hit subscribe, and then all you got to do that's it. You're done. It's over. I post the website, or I post the podcast online on my end, and then within like 30 minutes, your phone will automatically download it. And if you have it set up the right way, it'll even tell you, it'll give you a notification saying new episode of the Reinder Report, episode 57 now available. So I would love for you to subscribe to that. Again, follow me on Twitter at PaulReindlSD. You can always write to me on Twitter and give me some feedback. Tell me what you liked. Tell me what you didn't like. You can comment on the website. Nobody's paying me for this, okay? I'm doing this because I like to do it, but if there's anything that you don't like about this podcast, if there's anything you want more of on this podcast, let me know, and I will try to accommodate as best I can. So that's going to do it for me. So until next week, go anybody playing the Chargers, right? Go Giants, go San Diego State, and go away, Cam Newton. That's all I've got. I'll talk to you next week.